Leaders from the big three auto companies, GM, Ford, Chrysler, went to Capitol Hill again today. They begged and they pleaded for $25 billion more. Unfortunately for them, their whining may fall on deaf ears. House and Senate versions of an aid bill are looking as if they will not pass, many suggesting it's best to let them go bankrupt. Here is my issue tonight. There should be no bailout. Sorry to say that, but there should be no bailout for anybody until they have figured out a way to retool for a future that is greener and smarter. The auto industry's dire condition is just one symptom of a much larger sickness in our consumer economy. We need to retool all businesses to make them globally friendly. If you want green, guess what? You're going to have to go green. We cannot, in good conscience, hand over billions and billions and billions of dollars to an industry that arrogantly hangs on to the past. We need a technological revolution, and unfortunately, Detroit ain't ready to lead it. Joining me now, Congressman Ron Paul, a Republican from Texas and former presidential candidate. Congressman Paul, first of all, thanks for being here tonight. You ran for president as a Republican, but you are very well known for your libertarian philosophy as well. Do you feel a bailout is a betrayal of what America stands for, and if so, why?
Oh, absolutely. Any bailout is bad. That emphasizes central economic planning, which is a failure. We had partial central economic planning prior to the crisis, and that caused our trouble. So more of that won't work. And another bailout of the car companies, it makes no sense whatsoever. But quite frankly, even though there's resistance here and it doesn't look like it's going to sail right through, I'd sort of predict that I don't think you're going to see the wiping off of the General Motors and Chrysler and Ford. I think they're going to be around one way or the other, because the politicians here, when push comes to shove, they will usually bend and do what they think the public wants. But
I don't know if the public wants this. I think there's a lot of resistance. I think there's sort of, oh, we bailed out AIG, we bailed out the banks, and now this. I think people are getting tired of it.
Yeah, the public is probably not the best word picked, because remember on our first bailout package before, the public was speaking out and they said no bailouts, and we defeated it. And then 5 days later, when the other side of the public, when the other side of the public came out, those who were the lobbyists and the ones who had the money and the ones who had the clout, they came and demanded, and lo and behold, there was a switch of 57 votes and the bailout passed. So yes, the lobbyists still are pretty powerful. And unfortunately, the people sometimes get pushed aside. And the people realize now that all these bailout things aren't working. You know, they're shifting gears. Just think of many different things the Federal Reserve has done, 3 or 4 or 5 different programs. And now the Treasury comes up and they get $700 billion and they start, oh, we're going to buy up the illiquid assets. And that didn't work, so they're going to buy something else up. So the American people must be soon waking up. But unfortunately, the lobbyists are still pretty powerful. But what's going to limit it is we don't have any money here.
What I think is fascinating, sir, is that you just brought up 2 important issues, and one of them is the lobbyists. And we like to talk about these issues like we live in a purely capitalistic society, but we don't. Lobbyists have actually substituted efficiency for influence. Influence is what counts in today's business world, not necessarily a good product. We don't live in a purely capitalistic society, and that's one of the reasons why the whole world is in turmoil. For example, we subsidize agribusiness by the billions in this country. And from what I've read and people I've talked to, it's literally putting small farmers in Africa and across Latin America out of business, creating poverty and crisis in those countries, and actually contributing to our immigration problems, because those unemployed farmers who used to have a mule and a couple of acres can't compete with agribusiness, so they're crossing the border to try to survive and get jobs.
Yeah, and it is the big companies that get the benefits. So I have a farm district in Texas. I vote against all subsidies, but the farmers still vote for me because they do know that big corporations get the subsidies. And I tell them, I said, how long have these programs been around? Since the Depression, and you're still poor. You know, so they come around to believing this once they understand it. But you know, we only have 2 problems here in Washington who deal with the lobbyists, and that's the Republicans and the Democrats. You know, they seem to like the lobbyists. I mean, just think. In this last election, our president-elect right now got $750 million. And believe me, he is not exempt from the lobbyists' control. So it's a system that is so bad, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat or whatsoever. They run the show. That's why I'm sort of pessimistic that we can hold off the next bailout, because I think they're going to come and say the world is coming to an end.
I have one quick question. Why do we have to psychologically keep the American manufacturing industry going? And obviously, I know many jobs are connected to it, but it seems like everything else we buy in America is from another country. I mean, I tried for a week not to buy something from China, and I had a really hard time. It seems clear to me that we are no longer primarily a manufacturing country. We are in the information age, and that is going to be our role in the world as other countries take over manufacturing.
Yeah, but you have to understand that's a more complicated question, because you have to understand the monetary system we have, the dollar standard that's coming to an end. You have to understand over-regulation and over-taxation and all these things that we have done. Just think of the difference between a car company in the South versus a car company in the North. I mean, the Federal Reserve does a lot to mess up the economy, and they did. But also in Michigan, they did a lot of things to help ruin the car companies.
Oh, they sure did.
So it is the overregulation that has a lot to do with this.
Congressman Paul, thank you so much, and I hope you come back, because we're going to stay on top of this issue of what the U.S. economy needs to do to get back on track. Thank you, sir. There is a lot of finger-pointing going on in response to Detroit's distress condition. One auto worker says, hey, don't blame his union benefits. That's not causing the problem. He points to all those perks for the high-level execs. Listen to this.
She's a level 7. The level 8s get the free car washes, the free cars, the free gas, the free insurance. And they complain yet. I mean, come on, you want to save some money? Let's save some money.